on, guys? And today we'll be talking about the Los Angeles Clippers, a season preview and prediction. Yes, they're still contenders, but they're way down by age, and an NBA investigation. The Clippers look deeper, older, and under scrutiny. I want to hear your opinions down below. If you guys enjoy this type of video, like, comment, and subscribe. The Clippers came close to knocking off Denver in round 1 of this past year's playoff and might have been a finals team in another bracket. They had one of the best defenses. This offseason, they doubled down, surrounding Kawhi Leonard and James Harden with Bradley Beal, Chris Paul, Brook Lopez, and John Collins. On paper, this is the deepest team in the NBA and the oldest ever. Off the court, however, the Kawhi Leonard aspiration scandal looms, with an NBA investigation threatening to complicate LA's title chase. This offseason, they re-signed James Harden to a 2-year, $81 million deal. Nick Batum to a 2-year, $11.4 million deal. Brought back Trenton Flowers. John Collins was brought in. Brook Lopez, Bradley Beal, Chris Paul, Niederhauser, Kobe Sanders were brought in via the draft. Jordan Miller returned, and they have Ty Washington, Patrick Baldwin, Jason Preston, and Jameel Telford on Exhibit 10s. Norman Powell, Amir Coffey, Drew Eubanks, Seth Lundy were all guys who departed. Now, they went 50-32, lost in Game 7 to the Denver Nuggets in round 1. When healthy, Kawhi and Harden looked like a title duo with a team that had the depth and the defense to do it. However, injuries, shooting stagnation, like this was a really bad three-point shooting team, and their depth were exposed late in the season. The Clippers went all in, using every tool available to them to add depth around Kawhi. Beal gives them a scoring balance. Lopez replaces Drew Eubanks' backup minutes and gives Zubac a legit backup who can basically give similar impact whenever he sits. And Collins gives them a switch big that injects athleticism and a different look for Tyronn Lue. Rotating Harden ensures continuity, but age is a huge factor. Collins is the only rotation player that's under 30. The front office is betting veteran depth outweighs the risk of breakdowns or just father time winning out. We'd assume James Harden, Bradley Beal, Kawhi Leonard, and John Collins, Zubac being the starting lineup, with Chris Paul, Nick Batum, Brook Lopez being more than likely the backups there, as also Chris Dunn, Bogdanovich, Derek Jones, Cam Christie, Kobe Brown are all other guys who will probably also be in the rotation there. So to me, what I think is obvious is that this is the deepest roster in the West, if not the entire NBA. They have elite scoring from all three levels, with shot creation not only as ISO players but for each other, and really good rim protection with Lopez, Zubac, Collins, and Niederhauser. They have veteran leadership, playoff experience. This is the oldest roster and contenders in the NBA and in NBA history. Kawhi's injury history and a lot of the players on this roster is a major concern. The reliance on fragile players, potentially, because they're veterans, is something that we have to think about. Paul, Beal, Harden, not like guys who've been healthy stalwarts for the entirety of their careers. And off-court distractions, from Aspiration's investigation to just what's going to happen with that. We'll talk more about that in a sec, but Tyronn Lue remains a stabilizing force. They have Van Gundy still. Known for adjusting in playoff series, Coach Lue will need to manage aging stars' minutes carefully. With Paul and Beal in the mix, bouncing touches and egos is important as X and O's. They're above the second apron, or the first apron. The second apron looms, my apology. They're under the second apron by like $2 million. They're above the first. And they have a trade exception from PJ Tucker and from Bones Highland, 6.6 and 4.2 respectively. Clippers remain capped out until 2027. Next chance at a big move comes when Beal, Paul, and Lopez's contracts expire. They brought in Niederhauser with the 30th pick in the draft. He's the Swiss center who has rim running, lob threat, and rim protecting abilities. He's a developmental piece as the reserve big behind Zubac and Lopez. Kobe Sanders is a swingman who can play the 1, the 2, or the 3. He's a Swiss Army knife who can be a scorer, a defender, or floor spacer that has a chance to crack the rotation as depth insurance. John Collins gets a fresh start in LA. He's a guy who could rediscover that 20 and 10 form as a starting power forward. Zubac, still effective and productive. He's now going to be able to take a breather because he has Lopez to alleviate him and not have to be over-reliant as him being the only reliable center. And Trent Flowers or Jordan Miller are two guys who I think could surprise in the rotation as they need a little bit of sprinkle of youth. Bradley Beal is going to be somebody that we're going to be looking at because, look, he slides into a perfect fit third option. He's still an efficient player. And him being that third guy next to Kawhi and Harden is awesome. His ability to score without needing the ball could make him the missing piece for a true title run. So, how far can LA go? The Clippers are all in on this veteran group. Best case, health holds up. LA is a top 3 West seed and makes a final push. Worst case, injuries and age equals another first round exit. Looming over it all, the NBA's aspiration investigation, which Paulo Torre put out, could impact their assets and reputation if it ends up being kind of a Joe Smith situation. So what are we looking at? Can Kawhi and the rest of the guys stay healthy? Will Bradley Beal complement or crowd the floor around Harden and Kawhi? The Aspiration scandal, could penalties strip assets or cause turmoil? And the window's closing. How many runs does this aging core realistically have left? Is this the final year? Do they have one more year after this? I think best case scenario, they make it to the finals and Kawhi's healthy and the Aspirations scandal just gets swept under the rug. Worst case, they miss the playoffs or they're a team that loses in the first round with the Aspiration scandal being a huge penalty. But most likely, this is a playoff team with health questions that defy their ceiling. So with that being said, I think what we need to talk about is Steve Ballmer and the Clippers claim they have no knowledge of a specific endorsement contract terms and did not direct the deal. Ballmer says he was misled by Aspiration, believing his investigation or his investment was legitimate. Aspiration's co-founder Andre Cherney denies the no-show characterization, saying Leonard's contract included extensive obligations. So Aspiration has since filed for bankruptcy. Co-founder Joe Sandberg pled guilty to wire fraud for defrauding investors and lenders, and they are tied to the Clippers because Steve Ballmer invested $50 million, which is the $50 million that was missing in the Kawhi contract. As if he had stayed with the Raptors, he would have made $15 million more, but the max the Clippers could have given him was $50 million short. The Clippers struck a reported $300 million sponsorship deal with Aspiration as part of a founding partnership for their arena. Clippers minority owner Dennis Wong reported invested almost $2 million in Aspiration just days before the company made a delayed $1.75 million payment to Leonard. And with all that, the NBA needs to determine what's the smoking gun, if there was an arrangement violating salary cap rules in an attempt to circumvent them. Penalties could include fines, voiding contracts, or forfeiting draft picks. Most likely, if something was caught, they'd suspend Ballmer for a year or two. The same thing with Wong, maybe Lawrence Frank. They'd all get fined. So would Kawhi, and then they dock them 3 to 5 first round pick like they did the Joe Smith. The NBA has officially opened an investigation. Commissioner Adam Silver has confirmed the league is reviewing all evidence. So where things stand, Aspiration is bankrupt with ongoing legal and financial fallout. Joe Sandberg has pled guilty to fraud charges. The NBA investigation remains ongoing with no public findings yet. Media and public scrutiny are high, raising broader questions about how endorsement deals, sponsorships, and ownership ties intersect with league salary cap rules. So that's basically everything we know on that front. I want to hear your guys' thoughts. What do you guys expect and why? Definitely an interesting situation to say the least, with I think everybody not knowing what's going to happen there or if anything is going to happen at all, because of just what it seems like and how they're just playing stupid, aka Steve Ballmer. But that's it. I hope you guys did make it to the end of the video. If you did, hit that like and subscribe button. It will mean a ton. Ciao. Bye.